All right, so in this video, I'm gonna try to quickly go over some of the tools I would like to see you understand for our assessment. So some of the first tools include your adjustment tools, right? So I might ask you to change the color of the entire picture, right? So, for instance, my cow would be my picture. I would go to my adjustment tools. So there are many different ways you can find your adjustment tools. You can find them on your layer bar under what looks like the black and white cookie. You can also find them under your adjustments off to the right, right? These little icons. When you hover over them, it shows you the name of them. And if this is not open or you cannot find it, you can always go up to Window and select Adjustments, and it will open up for you. The four adjustment tools that we went over were brightness, contrast, and levels. I'll show you one of them, but the other works very similarly. And if you refer back to my other videos that I have posted, they do go over all of these tools a little bit more with you. These will add a dark value or light values or lighten up your picture for you if you wanted to adjust something when it comes to light. Then what happens is in your layer bar, a adjustment layer pops up, right? With the layer mask thumbnail, that's your adjustment that you made over the entire picture. And it tells you exactly what adjustment you've created, which is the levels. If you wanted to adjust this further or change something, you can always click on the adjustment icon on that layer bar and it will open up again and then you can adjust accordingly. So it's never ever permanent. You can also always turn it on and off to see the adjustment that was made. If you don't want it, you can always drag it to the garbage can and delete it. Brightness contrast works the same way, just a little bit different using your brightness and contrast. The other two tools that I went over with you were hue saturation and selective color. I'm going to show you selective color right now really quickly, and then I'll use hue saturation when I go over selection tools. So selective color works great because it allows you to select a specific color from the picture and change just really that color within that image. It'll take like colors within the image. So if I went to green, right, I'm hoping that it's just going to pick up all the green in the background and change just that and not really affect the picture of the cow. CMYK, or cyan, magenta, yellow, black, are the colors of your printer. And those are the colors that we would be adjusting. So cyan, it would be opposite colors that you would change when you pull the tab. So when I pull my tab to the right, it's going to turn the green more blue. So you'll see that the blue is changing a little bit more in my background. When I pull it to the left, it's going to make it more orange. So you can kind of see it's very subtle, but the greens in the background are changing. Magenta would add like a warmer red, and pulling it away would add more green. So you can see more green is popping up. So it's just adding these colors and mixing them in together. This will add more yellow. Pulling it in the other direction will add more blue to your green. And then obviously black would add more black, darken it, and then this would make it lighter. And you can see it's really just adjusting those colors that are green. All right, and then you can do that to any of the colors that you see in your picture. So when I get rid of that, minimize it, you can see now I have a selective color layer on my layer bar. All right, so I'm going to keep that one for now. Now let's say I wanted to select something specific, like maybe the ear or the eye or the nose, and I wanted to change something really specific about it. And I wasn't able to use like selective color to do that or something else. I could use my selection tools like my marquee, my lasso, and my wands. When you're doing this, you want to make sure you're on the correct layer. So right now I'm on my cow layer, right? You don't want to be on any other layer but the layer that you're working in. So I'm making sure I'm selecting my cow. I'm going to just go over all of these tools quickly with you. You have your marquee, which is your rectangle and your elliptical tool. This is good for shapes that are more geometric, right? Like a square or a circle or an ellipse or an oval or a rectangle, right? But you can use it in this case if you wanted to put a square in your background above your cow. So I'm going to use hue saturation to change it. Hue saturation will change the color of that specific space as you drag it along this tab. Saturation will either give it more vibrancy or more intensity, make that color more intense and bright, or it will take color out. It will literally suck all of the color out. It's going to become grayscale if you were to bring it all the way down to 0% saturation, right? As a editor, designer, working on something like this, you may or may not change it so abruptly like this. It might be a very subtle change to the picture. But I'm just showing you specifically what it can do. This will lighten it and this will darken it. All right, so I'm going to keep that. So you can see underneath my hue saturation adjustment that I made, the thumbnail, the layer mask thumbnail now has a little white square in the bottom right corner and everything else is black. So that's showing you that everything in the picture does not have that adjustment on it except for that white space, right? That's where the adjustment is. Okay. Now I'm going to go back to my cow layer and I'm going to show you quickly some of the other ones. So the lasso tool is like a free drawing tool that will allow you to draw like freely and select. The polygono is more of like a linear type of cutout. And then the magnetic will kind of like magnetically attach itself to like parts. So let's say I wanted to, I'm going to use the nose again. I wanted to select just the nose. So using my magnetic lasso tool, as I draw freely over the cow's nose, the front of it, it creates points, but it also magnetically attaches itself to light colors. Sometimes it can be a little bit funny. So what you could do is just create your own points sometimes if you notice it going kind of steering in the wrong direction. Just kind of click on your mouse and press to create another point and it will kind of redirect itself. But it's best to do this slowly so it doesn't go all over the place. Wherever you start, you must end. So if I ended here, if I started here, I'm going to end here. You notice that a little circle pops up as I attach it to my first original point. When I click down and attach it, it creates that selection. And now I can go back and kind of change what I would like to change about it. So I'm just adding the hue saturation so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay. And the same thing, again, happens with your layer. Thumbnail creates like a picture, right, showing you what's being selected and what's not being selected. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is show you how to use the quick selection tool. Now again, I'm quickly going through these in this video, but if you refer back to my other tutorials that specifically go over transformation tools, selection tools, and all of that jazz, it goes over these tools a little bit more in depth. The magic wand tool will select like colors, right? Remember, it also works with your tolerance. So the higher the tolerance, the larger the number, the more it will pick up. And the less the tolerance, the less it will pick up. When you hold the shift key down, it will allow you to select more space, right? If I didn't want to keep this selection, I can click on Command or Control D and it will deselect the selection that I made. On top of that, notice that I'm actually on my hue saturation layer. I want to make sure that I'm always, when I'm making a selection, I'm on my layer that I'm selecting from. So I want to make sure that when I make this next selection, I'm on my cow layer. I'm going to use my quick selection tool to select this ear. So you can control the size of the quick selection tool with your brackets, which are next to your P on your keyboard. Your left bracket will make it smaller, your right bracket will make it bigger. But this is a great tool that will allow you just to add to your selection very slowly and quickly. A little bit easier than the magic wand tool. You can also get rid of aspects of it. So you have plus and minus. So if I click on minus, if I didn't want so much of the selection here to be selected, I can go back in. Notice I did make my quick selection a little bit smaller in size. Then it will pick up less. Now I can go in and use my, okay, I clicked on brightness contrast. So let's go ahead and use it. Maybe I'm going to make it brighter. Maybe I'm going to add more contrast to that ear. And then notice that my new layer comes up with my brightness contrast adjustment, and it shows you what I selected versus what I didn't select. Okay. The next tool I wanted to go over with you was deleting aspects of a background, right? So now I have this pig. I brought this new pig in. I'm going to click on that layer. I'm going to Control T or Command T, or if you cannot do that, you can go to Edit, Transform, and scale it. Right? And I'm going to scale this picture down. Maybe I'll put him right here in the picture. I'm going to hit Enter or Return to finish the transformation. And now I can go in and I can delete aspects of the background. So let's say I wanted to delete, I don't know, parts of this background, right? I can select it and hit delete and it will delete that area. I can Command or Control D to deselect. I can also use my eraser to erase away at, right, the background. But that's a little bit more permanent, right? So what I had suggested was your layer mask. So by making sure you're on your selection, right, your object, you want to select your layer mask, which is the little, what looks like a camera at the bottom of your layer bar, and it will create the layer thumbnail mask on your layer bar, or your layer mask thumbnail. What I can then do is make sure that my color swatches are both black and white. If they're not, you can double click on the color swatch to change it. And then using your paintbrush, in my case, the black will, with the black color swatch on top of, will get rid of the background. While if I made a mistake and erased through my pig, I can change that around and place the white color swatch on the top, and that will bring the background back again, right? But notice that I can't bring back the area that I deleted because it's not a part of that mask. That's why it's a little bit more permanent than something that you would do alone. So now I'm going to use my wand tool to just select aspects of this background here and then erase it. All right, and now I have my pig in my picture. All right, now I just did that really quickly, and I did a terrible job because notice the pig, I erased part of the image here. It looks a little pixelated. Maybe I would go back in, try to clean that up a little bit, or bring aspects of it back, maybe, and then maybe go back in and soften it up with like my eraser or something. But I don't think I did a very good job with that. You want to make sure when you're doing things like this that they're clean and neat, right? Might go back into that a little bit more and soften up the edge. using like a soft brush. All right. I hope you find this video helpful. These are the types of tools that I may ask you to demonstrate in our assessment for Thursday. So please make sure that you have a good understanding. If you need some extra help, we can set up some extra help time and I can meet with people to go over some of these tools again with you.